Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. We've got a couple people that are still coming in, so I want to give everybody a chance to get connected and get audio hooked up here. So we'll start here in like 30 seconds.
That's fine.
Okay, looks like we've got a good attendance going here. Well, probably some people will be sneaking in the door here at the last couple seconds here. I know how that goes, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, I just want to thank everyone for taking time today to join us to hear about kind of how HYCU has been able to integrate with and help a couple of different organizations kind of protect their data, especially as it relates to Nutanix environments and so forth. So again, appreciate everybody's time. Before we get started here, I just want a couple housekeeping items. We'll kind of kick off an agenda here in just a second. We are recording this, share this out later so you can go back and review any information you've heard or whatever, share it with somebody that you know that you think might benefit from it. And then also there's a Q&A button here if you want to go ahead and throw any questions in there. We'll try and get to a few of those here at the end as we wrap up. So there you have it. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off here with an agenda as to what we're going to do. I'd like to introduce our speakers. I'll take a couple seconds just for those who may be not familiar, introduce a little bit about HYCU. And then I really want to spend the bulk of the time speaking with our guest panelists here today. And then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers here. First, we have Yasin Alsagoff from Hawaii Gas. He's an IT director. He has quite a storied career behind him. And if that comes up in detail during our conversation, hope he'll share a little bit about his personal journey here as he's arrived where he is. And he's currently a whiskey guy, which I can respect as well. So, and also Wael Ismail from Entrust Capital, IT director there. He's also got a pretty storied career over 2 decades worth of IT experience in global finance. So really just a kind of a pretty cool, really we've got a kind of a global audience here, which is really cool. It's one of those things that sort of speaks to the HYCU's reach around the globe and just the different organizations we've been able to touch. And me, least important of us all, I'm Alan Holmes, sales engineer here at HYCU. I hope to do the least amount of talking. I really wanted you to hear from these 2 gentlemen here and their experience. So I'll get my spiel out of the way first then, and then turn it over to them to talk. So just want to take a couple of minutes here to just for those who maybe are not familiar, talk a little bit about HYCU and just kind of highlighting again, a global company. One of the things I really want to highlight here is just kind of the NPS score in the middle. If you're not familiar with the Net Promoter Score, it's just a customer rating. We're in the high 90s. The scale goes from -100 to +100. And I think you'll even hear a little bit about this from our panelists here today, just in terms of kind of what that means as far as having world-class support, basically, as it relates to being able to support them in their data protection journey. Always like to show just a little bit about customers who use HYCU. Some ones I like to point out here is kind of right there in the center is Nutanix, first of all. HYCU kind of born and bred in the Nutanix world, but really they're a paying customer as well. But the other ones I really like to highlight too are some of those especially government military type agencies where security is definitely top concern. And, it's not just government entities that have to worry about protecting their data from any kind of corruption, ransomware, those kinds of things. It's everybody now. It's everybody's problem. And these folks have really kind of helped blaze the trail there. And if it's, we get their seal of approval, that's something to be pretty proud of. So areas that HYCU really focuses to try and help organizations in terms of addressing their data. I'm going to take these a little bit out of order, but obviously on the left-hand side there, backend recovery is really kind of our key kind of bread and butter. But then moving on to that lower right side, multi-cloud management. So many organizations today, and you'll hear from these gentlemen that this is certainly the case with them, really have their data in a lot of different places, on-premise, cloud, SaaS type stuff. And that data needs to be protected in all those different clouds, and a single solution to facilitate that is really what's needed. And then lower left, in terms of migrating data between those environments. And then up in the upper left, being able to utilize cloud as a DR platform. You're already there, in a lot of cases with having some sort of data presence in the cloud. Why not use it for your disaster recovery as well? And then finally, the two on the right side there, they kind of go hand in hand in terms of ransomware protection and the security and compliance. And as I'm sure many of you are familiar, insurance, today, a lot of cybersecurity type things that have to have boxes checked in order for cybersecurity insurance to be given essentially to an organization now. And HYCU's really come alongside a lot of customers in order to help them check those boxes to make sure that they are meeting the security and compliance requirements for insurance and things like that. So anyway, that's really enough about that. I really want to turn the conversation over here to our panelists. And again, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you guys taking time out. I know you're very, very busy, as we all are, and just really appreciate you taking a few minutes here to chat with us. I wonder if we could first start, if either of you or both of you could just take a minute to kind of identify and briefly explain what some of the kind of key challenges that you'd faced in your environment that even had you looking for something like HYCU. So either one of you want to start, go ahead and jump in. I'd be interested in hearing kind of how that journey started for you guys.
That's fine. I can start.
Awesome.
So yeah, basically when we started Entrust Capital in 2018, which is a small family office like for financial services. So what the challenge that we had, that we bought something very simple, which was the Nutanix cluster. So we try to find something that can help us on backup and DR because of the regulatory requirements. So we just I ask myself usually what we need to protect, how frequent do I need to backup, and all this kind of question. What technology should I use? And there was like limited technologies available. So I got introduced to HYCU. Before that, I was like trying to implement something else, which took like ages to implement. Not ages, I would like say like a week or something, which is very complicated. We have to put like a catalog server. We have to put like a database, infrastructure server to make sure that the connection is between the machines and the network and all this. So it was very complicated to implement. And the learning curve was like, would take, I think, more than 2 weeks to understand how it works and how simple is that. So when I got the demo for HYCU, it was like implementation for basically 5 minutes exactly. Seriously, 5 minutes. It was downloaded. They sent me the download link without the download link, of course. Yeah, once I downloaded the software, put it in the HYCU, and I started it. The guy jumped in a Zoom call, and it was ready, discovered all the machine, and it's ready to go. So
that's amazing.
Basically, yeah, it was amazing. This is the first thing. The second thing is that it was very simple to use because the interface is very similar to Nutanix. So, and the Nutanix interface is very simple to use. So it was like immediately you get how it works, where is the backup, where is how to recover, how to schedule, how to put the policies, everything. So it was very simple. So immediately I took the decision, I have to go with this one. So this is my challenges with it. The second thing that we had another requirement that we have to build a DR. So building a DR basically is like, okay, I have to get a co-location host, put infrastructure there, install everything. And then guys from HYCU said, why don't you use Azure or like Google Cloud or anything? We support this. So we started implementing, like they put a cloud machine, HYCU cloud machine, they call it Portage, I guess. And then basically they replicating everything that I have to the cloud, and this we can start the machine. And the testing also, it's very easy how often that we can do the testing and recover from any disaster. It's within minutes. That's why I like the software basically.
That's excellent. It's funny you talk about the quick deployment. So just a very brief
Yeah,
background on me. I come from 20 years of IT sysadmin, network engineer. You know, I was the one with whose phone and pager was always going off in the middle of the night and so forth. And when I
yeah,
interviewed with HYCU, that was the same thing. They sent me the link. They're like, okay, you got an interview on Wednesday. Show us how our software works. Here you go. And that was they sent me the link. And I
yeah.
think it took me 40 minutes. And I was like, I got my first backup done. And I was like, I've never run into anything that simple. So I'd love that your story kind of tracks with mine as well.
Yeah.
First experience with HYCU. Yasin, same kind of journey for you, or is it a little different?
Yeah, it was similar to Wild, a little different. When I came on board to Hawaii Jazz, we were already using HYCU to do our backups, but the scope of the backups was really limited to backing up our on-prem self-hosted systems, and we were backing it up from one Nutanix stack to another. And all the backups were kind of co-located in an offsite data center. That was the setup. But when we recently implemented a new customer information system. It was a requirement from the Public Utilities Commission that we have a robust disaster recovery plan. So as part of that, we set about looking for solutions to allow us to take our backups beyond the co-location data centers to the cloud. And we looked at many different cloud providers, I guess the usual suspects, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. And we wound up choosing Google Cloud. And along with that, we looked at various backup solutions, including those offered by Nutanix themselves. They came in with an option to have our environment replicated at a site that was hosted by them. But ultimately, my vision was to have Hawaii Gas not have anything located on-prem any longer. I want to get us off the on-prem self-hosted type of setup to getting all our systems in the cloud. And we ultimately went with Google Cloud and with a combination of HYCU Protege. And it was a combination of factors that led us there. One of the biggest factors was the level of support that each of you provided. So Google, excellent support. HYCU was there with us alongside the whole journey from start to finish when we tried to do the POC, the proof of concept, to see if all of this works. Now, again, my vision being that we wanted to get to the cloud, it had to line up with that journey, right? So the HYCU Protege solution was unique because it allowed us to take our backups, extend the whole scheme, allowed us to make copies of the backups to Google Cloud, and it allowed us to then use those backups either on-prem or the copies in the cloud to spin up VMs in GCP. So that was perfect for us, right? It was totally in line with that journey of us trying to get to the cloud. So right now we are in the midst of going through our application portfolio to design our failover system. So it's kind of partially serving as a DR type solution, but it's also serving to a great extent somewhat of a high availability solution, because we're able to quickly spin up applications in the cloud should our on-premises applications fail, right? Should the servers fail, we can spin up the applications in the cloud fairly quickly because we already have the backups in the cloud, and we're able to spin up native GCP VMs from those backups. So it's a very elegant solution. We didn't have to have a lot of resources running in the cloud. We're just having to maintain one simple VM running HYCU in GCP, and that's it. That was the requirement, and now we're able to implement a a fairly robust system that protects us from local disasters, ransomware, various types of scenarios. We feel very comfortable with the solution that we've arrived at.
That's excellent. And I want to start with that kind of both of you having that kind of journey to the cloud. And it sounds like you kind of already talked about that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you talked about it certainly as a way of using as a disaster recovery or high availability type scenario, but it sounds like even kind of using HYCU to some degree to help with kind of migrating on-premise workloads.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's not just a recovery tool, it's actually helping with migration.
That's correct.
Right. So it's definitely not a throwaway kind of temporary solution where we have to replace it. It's part and parcel of our journey, and we see us continuing to be able to use HYCU even when we fully migrate it to the cloud. So
That's excellent.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Wael, on that, or kind of pretty much in agreement?
Yeah, I agree exactly. So we cannot go exactly to the cloud fully. However, we can use it as a DR because of the regulator requirements. As most of the financial industry, you have to have everything on premise or whatever in the country itself. But overall, yes, it's protecting everything. It has a nice features also in the protection side. We'll discuss later, I guess.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
excellent. I want to circle back just a little bit. We kind of covered some of the cloud strategies, which is great. I'm curious if, Wael, if you could start. Basically, was there anything from a Nutanix standpoint? Because you both are utilizing Nutanix in your on-premise data centers. Is there anything from a Nutanix feature set or integration from HYCU with Nutanix that was that factored it all into, or I guess I should say, is there anything about the integration there that sticks out to you that was a differentiator between us and maybe other solutions you were looking at?
I would say the simplicity and the discovery of the machines, and even when you put the credential of the machine, you can discover what's the services inside. Restoring, fast restore also, the spin up on different Nutanix environment or the cloud. This is all, I think it's a good integration. That's what I have in mind. Also the Nutanix file, the support for Nutanix files, which is very important. So some of the softwares or backup softwares available doesn't support the Nutanix file, which is very actually added advantage for HYCU.
Excellent. Anything that stuck out to you at all, Yasin, or?
Yeah. So the simplicity that Wael references, it's a testament to the the hard work that you guys have put into the product development, because to make a solution simple, in my experience, is difficult, right? There are a lot of solutions that could have worked for us, but the simplicity and the elegance of the solution was a testament to the engineering that you guys put behind it. So the compatibility with Nutanix, the Acropolis AHV compatibility, the compatibility with GCP, all of that played into our ultimate decision to move forward with this solution. I don't know if how many of our listeners are small companies like ours. We're a relatively small business in Hawaii. We don't have the luxury of a huge company with hundreds of IT resources dedicated to do stuff. So simplicity, the minimal overhead that's needed to maintain the system is absolutely important to us, because we have to do everything that large organizations do with a much smaller team, right? And so every single bit that we can save in terms of having to spend time maintaining these systems is a huge bonus to us. So the HYCU and HYCU Protege products actually do help us achieve that. We're able to continue to deliver, the IT services, backup recovery, DR, all that stuff, with continuing to have a very small team be able to support all of it.
Agree.
I love that you mix the word elegant and simple, because I know for myself, when somebody says, yeah, we've got a very simple solution, to me that kind of implies something less than full featured.
Yeah.
But you're saying that's not the
It's
case.
not. No, it's not the case.
That's
That's not the case completely. It covers everything. Most of it has a lot of features that I didn't see in most of the backup software, to be honest.
Love it. Love it. And I kind of wanted to drill in a little bit. You talked about, Wael, you talked about the integration with Nutanix files, and that was definitely one of the things that stuck out to me from a feature set as well too. Just very briefly, I like to give a little 45-second description of what you mean, and you can confirm or correct what I'm saying here if I'm not, representing it how you see it. But basically, the way that HYCU works with Nutanix files, other solutions can certainly back up file shares like Nutanix files, but the trick there is they gotta pound away, on those file shares, looking through each folder, each file, every directory, looking for files that have changed to gather that data. And not only does it take a long time to do that, but it's a huge resource hog essentially on those file server VMs. Whereas Nutanix has got their change file tracking API that, I'm not sure if you know this, but HYCU engineering actually kind of worked a little bit with them and helped them develop that. But what that does is they track all the edits and changes to the file system on the front end, right? So as HYCU comes along and says, hey, we need to back up this file system, we just simply ask Nutanix what's different since the last time you and I talked. And in a couple of minutes, they just hand us the list. A couple of minutes, we go get the data we need and we're done. And we don't take a long time to do it, and we don't use a whole lot of resources doing it. So anyway, I hope that's what you were referring to, and that's been my experience. So
that's correct.
Excellent. So you've touched on it a little bit, and I like how you talked about how you basically don't need a whole team of people to manage your backup solution, right? So ease of use is certainly one of those things that we tend to hear from our customers, and I guess you already talked about the deployment process being simple. You talked about the ease of management. I'm curious if there was anything else that kind of sticks out. That I know I'm thinking of something myself that I encountered, but I'm curious if there's anything that sticks out that really was a differentiator in terms of ease of use from other solutions you'd either used or that you had been comparing at the time, that really sticks out as far as ease of use was concerned in the environment.
Yep. So, with regards to ease of use, I think alongside with that is and I mentioned this earlier, is the support, right? As easy as it was to use, the honest truth is that we did run into some hiccups, right? During the proof of concept. And again, it's not nothing's perfect. And so, but throughout the whole process, I got to say that the HYCU engineers were committed and stayed with us alongside the whole journey. So that made it so much simpler. The confidence that we were able to get through all of it. So it could be a matter of a 0.1 version release of a driver that caused all the difference, right? And we could have spent weeks, or we could have, declared the POC a failure because it just plain didn't work. But coming down to the littlest details and having them be alongside us, troubleshooting, identifying what the problems could be, made all the difference. And so it made the journey so much easier in my experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent.
I agree.
That's
I
actually,
would say also, yeah, sorry, Alan.
no, go ahead.
I would say also one of the simplest thing in HYCU is the upgrade itself and the maintenance. So you just get the new version in ISO, upload it to Nutanix, and just rename the file, and that's it. You can be able to upgrade in a few minutes, I guess, maybe less than 10 minutes. You will be on the new version. The maintenance of the software itself, it doesn't have any, you don't have to make sure that there is a database growing or anything like that. It's just, it fixes itself. So the simplicity of the maintenance of the backup software itself is very important. And the support of simple upgrade to the new versions without having to upgrade the, whatever I said, that the catalog, the license server, the reporting server, the media server, or all these kind of things. It's just one upgrade with one file.
The upgrade process is exactly what I was thinking of. That was another kind of eye opener for me. You know, gone are the days of having to have, you know, consultants on site for 5 days to you know, to completely handle the upgrade, and you're possibly missing backups at the time. It is crazy easy. And I always like to tell, you know, customers that I'm talking to that I've got 4 kids. My youngest is 13. And usually I let one of them handle the upgrades in my home lab. So when it comes time to do it, and so I can tell everybody, hey, it's crazy easy. My 13-year-old kid can do it in 10 minutes and you're done, and it's easy. So anyway, love that story. Excellent. So I wanted to kind of see if this at all rang true. Another one of the things that often comes up from our customers is an opportunity for cost savings. And I think we touched a little bit on it in the fact that you don't have to dedicate IT resources to, you know, essentially be babysitting your solution all the time. But I'm wondering if there's any other kind of cost savings that you, either one or both of you, were able to realize as a result of being able to use something like this, like HYCU.
Yeah. So cost savings happens at several levels, right? So you've already mentioned, Alan, the you know, the savings realized through the minimal resources that are required to manage all of this. That's a huge savings. Now the solution itself, when compared to other competitors' solutions, when we set out looking for solutions, both, you know, none of them were quite as elegant or simple as the HYCU solution, but at the same time, none of them were comparable in terms of cost as well. So, you know, just from a licensing perspective, HYCU came in at incredible value for the functionality that we were going to get. And teamed up with that, you know, the compatibility with Google GCP for our purposes at least, and it may be different for everyone, right? Depending on how you license. GCP for us was by far the lowest cost option for cloud storage and cloud computing, and so GCP in combination with HYCU was amazing for us. It was basically a no-brainer for us when looking at the cost benefit analysis.
Excellent. Excellent. Love that. Any similar thoughts, Wael? Or
yeah, of course, no problem. For us, it's like the cost of the resources, of course, number one. The cost of the licenses basically, because other backup software would require like you have to buy operating system licenses as well to be able to install. And HYCU, you don't have to do that. The third thing is that for me, it's a huge cost saving because I had to build a DR and I was using like Nutanix protection. So basically I had to have another box sitting somewhere else. Now I don't have. So I saved the cost for the colocation, and the Nutanix box that was in the DR doing nothing, now it is in my environment, helping increasing my resources. So
love that.
Yeah, so that's the approach. That is the cost saving that I had. Along with that, I don't have to like pay for huge internet bandwidth to replicate the data. It's very simple. It just takes the data and overnight it keeps sending it to the cloud.
That's great. And
Yeah.
out of curiosity, in terms of that feature set, and I know we touched on this just very briefly, but I guess if you can kind of drive the point home, or maybe again just kind of stick out one thing that sticks out. How does that feature set that you were just describing and those cost savings and all that stuff, how does that compare to other solutions that you were either using already or looking at, that you had compared? I assume HYCU wasn't the only company you were looking at either. So
Yeah, I've looked on two. At this time, I was only two. It was, the green one and the HYCU. So, so yeah, basically, it was a turn off for me to install all these kind of servers to be able to back. That's it. And the time when I see HYCU, the simplest way, so the simplest software installation that I've ever seen for a backup. So that's why I took the decision, whatever the cost is, but it was like, it was cheaper as well. But I would pay more because of the simplicity.
Don't say that, Wael.
I was gonna say I can make a call. I can make a call if you want. That's excellent. That's great. So kind of wrapping up the kind of on-premise and where you were as to where you are now, were there any tools, any type of other processes, whether they were ones you were paying for, homegrown ones, anything? Is there anything that was existing in either of your environments that HYCU was able to essentially replace and take even additional kind of workload off? Was there any other tools that we were able to essentially displace because of that?
For me, it wasn't a matter of replacing any tools, but like I mentioned earlier, it serves as I think anyone would agree with me that it's no trivial matter to try and set up a DR failover site with systems that are able to fail over and fail back. It's there's a lot of work that needs to be put into an effort like that. But for us to be able to run Nutanix on-prem and be able to fail over in GCP on native GCP compute VMs is remarkable to me. That by itself, it's worth its weight in gold, right? To get an equivalent type of solution would typically require us to set up or pre-set up a whole computing environment in the cloud, right? Pre-set up servers with mirroring and all of those complicated processes, right? Mirroring the databases, doing transaction log shipping, all that stuff. It's a complicated matter, but with the HYCU Protege, the ability for it to seamlessly be able to allow us to spin up from our backups VMs in a matter of minutes is just to me it was so easy that it was hard to believe that no one else would actually do that, right? And so that was my experience, Alan.
I like that. And that's actually kind of leads, I guess, a little bit, unless Wael, you had something you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I would say like it helps us in many ways of testing, basically. So if we have like we have softwares for the business usually, and we usually get updates for this. So basically, I can spin up machines without connecting to network, exactly the same machine. I can spin it up, test everything on the software, make sure it's working. I got the sign off, and then we can deploy it into production. So it works for testing as well. So this is one of the tools that I used to get to be able to make the updates and get new features in the software.
Yep, I would concur with that. So we do have, while we're not right now required to be SOX compliant, we were before. To comply with the audit requirements requires us to conduct regular backup and recovery tests, and the ability to quickly recover offline servers and be able to test them. Just makes it so much easier to complete those tests and to complete our obligations to the regulators to comply with their requirements.
I think on the next, I'm not sure, but I'm using a different change management process now because of HYCU, basically. So sometimes in not, I would say, business critical machines, we can deploy the updates immediately. If it fails, I just restore it from backup. It's very quickly. It's very quick to restore things from backup and revert back what I've did. So that's a change on the, in the change management process itself, which is very good. Instead of like doing opening a machine, running a machine, spin up a machine, and then put the update, make sure it's working and everything, just put it directly on the live environment, which is not the business critical machines. And then if it fails, I just roll back. That's it. I hope I'm clear about it.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I kind of use that with some of my customers as well too, when they've talked about that exact same thing. It's like you can kind of use this as your let me try something, or let me deploy some code, and if it works, great, we'll leave it alone. If not,
yeah,
we can roll back pretty easy. So that's great. Last question that I had here, and you touched on it a little bit when you said, hey, I can't believe somebody hasn't been doing this already. What's your impression in terms of HYCU and whether or not it's able to, or whether we as an organization are keeping pace with innovation? The world is changing pretty quickly in terms of cloud usage and containerized applications and SaaS and things like that. I mean, do you see HYCU keeping pace with that, or how are we doing in that regard, I guess?
Well, it's certainly meeting all of my requirements. The fact that it's completely compatible out of the box. Well, out of the box term is kind of a misnomer in this case. There's no box, but out of the box, it works. It's compatible. It's certified with the GCP. So no question. We haven't gotten into the whole containerization, but I'll be interested to find out more and learn more about what HYCU has to offer when we get there. But for now, our journey with this hybrid situation that we have with on-prem, the Nutanix stacks, as well as the cloud hosted systems, and the ability to fail over and fail back in these two environments, it's just it meets all our requirements right now. It checks all the boxes. So as far as keeping up, I'm very confident that HYCU is doing a great job. Again, a testament to its simplicity in its engineering, and that I can say is proof in the pudding that you guys are putting a lot of work to make it simple.
Yeah, I agree.
Love that. Cool. Great. Well, I appreciate all the input on here, and for those who maybe are hearing about HYCU for the first time or whatever, I did want to just take just a brief 5 minutes, if it's all right, just to sort of show people what you both have been kind of talking about in terms of simplicity and how the interface looks, and just how easy it is to protect your environment. So if I could just indulge on you for a couple of minutes, just to kind of show people what it looks like. So this, this is exactly what these gentlemen are using, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
The quick deployment of virtual appliance, it comes in real easy to connect to. Once you deploy the virtual appliance, which, as Wael said, takes just a few minutes, you'll simply come in, connect into your Nutanix environment here. If you're using Nutanix files, you can certainly connect into there. We can actually protect virtual machines in certain, or physical servers rather, in certain cases based on OS. But then once you make that connection, all of your virtual machines are automatically discovered. And again, this is my home environment, so not super huge, but you get the idea. they automatically populate as new machines are added in your Nutanix environment. HYCU automatically discovers those, so you don't have to remember to come back into your backup solution and rescan the environment or manually add new VMs that you created. And on top of that, we integrate with Prism Central categories. So if you apply certain categories to your VMs that are created, HYCU can recognize those categories, and you can define what we do with them when we find these new machines that get created based on the category. Do we protect them? If so, how? Is it once a day, once a week, whatever your policy assignments are? But virtual machines show here, you're going to define storage that you're going to write to, and obviously we integrate with a lot of different storage, pretty much anything that's on-premise NAS type devices, public, private cloud. As these gentlemen have already indicated, using Azure and Google and AWS for basically sending copies of their data to utilize for recovery, and then also, as Yasin was saying, very, very easy to use to spin up those VMs if you need to. Defining your backup strategy is crazy easy too. You come into policies, you'll just essentially define, we try and build this around an organization's recovery time objectives. So basically, how frequently do you need to back up? How quickly do you expect to recover? Where do you want to write the data, and how long you want to keep it? Is pretty much how you build a policy. So just in case, we're going to back up every day, we'll retain it for 2 weeks. We'll send it to, I'll send it to my on-site NAS device. I also want to get a copy, and I want to send it out to Azure or something like that. I can, and then retain it there for 6 weeks. It's very easy to create these policies. And we've got some pretty tight Nutanix integration here that we kind of already alluded to. And then you just simply apply policies as appropriate. So if you need, every 2-hour backups for certain machines, you can create policies and apply that on there, and we'll facilitate that. Recovery, also very easy. You can select a machine, a resource, whatever, and kind of get an idea of what restore points you have available to you. Pretty simple. Recovery time, we can even predict about how long it's going to take to recover if you hover over here, so you can see how close you are on your recovery time objectives. If you're setting it to 4 hours and you're noticing here that it's 3.5 hours, maybe that's something you need to be concerned about and address. But recovery is easy. Entire VMs, we can clone VMs between environments. If you've got multiple clusters, we can take backups of prod servers, restore them into dev test. One of my favorite components here, as a former IT person, near and dear to my heart, and I didn't hear either of you guys mention this, but this is something I wish I had back in the day. I'm looking at all these pretty green lights, right? You have some security, some sort of indication that your data has been protected, but you still have to test, right? And so what we've actually built into the tool is a validation test. So I actually have on a couple of my machines, every month I test to make sure that my backups are good. I want to restore it. I restore it to a different cluster. I put it in a sandbox network because I'm using static IP, so they don't conflict. I restore a couple of machines. I don't, but you can optionally run scripts on the machines to prove that not only did the VM boot, essentially, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. And then just simply tell us how frequently are you looking to do it. And so we can actually perform those tests, do the recovery, and give you a little indicator, send notifications through email or Microsoft Teams or Slack or whatever you'd be using. In order to indicate that, hey, part of your DR testing was done, and it was done while you were sleeping. So at least that's the way I would be looking at it. So anyway, that is it in a nutshell. I mean, there's so much more, as you guys have already referred to, and I just wanted to give maybe the folks who are unfamiliar a quick glance at what it looks like. But I just want to thank you both again for your time here today. I really appreciate you spending a few minutes of your very busy days in being able to share with us your experience. And if there's anything else you just want to add in parting, otherwise, just again, thank you so very much for taking the time.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate it.
You're most welcome, Alan.
Great. Well, again, thank you for everybody for joining us as well. And if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of us. You can reach out, and we will be happy to try and answer anything and get a copy of it in front of you, or a demo or something like that. So again, everybody, thanks you for joining, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everyone. Aloha.
Bye.